I'm getting a call too. No, I never lived at Camp Lejeune and I didn't drink the water. Sorry. Oh. Should be shareable right now.
Yes, sir.
When I lived at Camp Lejeune, the water was immaculate and all the problems had been solved. I'll be honest with you, having lived in the Camp Lejeune area, if they were trying to kill you with the water, they were doing you a favor.
What does that mean?
If they could have just killed you a little quicker. On the list of stuff that could kill you at Camp Lejeune, water was 73rd.
Okay. All right. So you see what I sent you?
Not yet, no.
It didn't go through.
Well, it may come. I don't know, later.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not that important.
Did you send it to winemedineme69me@gmail.com? My email address.
What's wrong with you? just tell us all. Okay.
Did you send it to flexdaddy69@gmail.com? That's my email address.
No, I sent it to BrittBacksLoserTeams.com.
That's my email address. Yep.
Okay. It's the Brad and Britt cast. Last one for this week, unless the world comes to an end, and then we'll be here to talk about it.
Always.
That's what we do. All right. Here's my list today.
I'm ready.
Freedom. We don't need no stinking freedom. What's killing the Dems? Don's video scam, and or the Confederate superhero movie scam. Meltdown Donnie's Hump Day. Or maybe the Brits ought to be using Indeed.com or LinkedIn to find their next prime minister.
That's where we want to start. 44 days is all it took for the British prime minister. I don't know if her name is Tussie, Robitussin, or Tuss the fuck get out of here. She didn't last very long. I believe they're calling it 4 Scaramucci's as this young lady resigns being prime minister of Great Britain. It's all over.
Yeah. The one that's not true, it's 5 Scaramucci's.
5 Scaramucci's. So, right. The sad thing about this is the last person who ever had to go to the Queen and ask, the last Queen anyway, and ask for permission to form a government, which is what you do when you gain this position.
Right. Yeah, she's the bridge, and so she told the Queen that she was the prime minister. Now she's telling the King that she is out. Now, to be serious for 10 seconds, this is a terrible state of affairs for Britain. On the other hand, you fucking did Brexit. This is the end product of that bullshit. Thank you.
It's true.
Now back to Brad and Britt. 45 days. I look at it this way. That's way longer than the Greg Allman Cher marriage. That was only, I believe, 9 days.
Oh, wow. We're still going there.
Yep. We have William Henry Harrison. Remember, William Henry Harrison died after 31 days, United States president. But, of course, he had pneumonia. I mean, he wasn't drummed out of office or repealed or anything of that sort.
Repealed by God.
Let's see. Emperors. Michael II of Russia. Y'all remember him.
Sure.
Wait, I remember Michael the First, not the second.
Yeah, the first one was good. The sequel sucked.
He had an 18-hour czarship, emperorship, in March of 1917, which, as you know, 1917 was, of course, the year of the Russian Revolution, and, of course, the first plague of the United States, the first pandemic. No, I'm sorry, it was 1918.
Spanish flu.
Yeah, Spanish flu. 20 minutes. Whoa. Yeah. King Louis the 19th,
Yeah.
1830, right after his father did the same. So, you know, come to think of it, she had kind of a long tenure there. Let's be fair.
We have a couple of people in Europe who listen to our wrestling podcast, and one of them is actually in Great Britain. And I would see him on Twitter making these jokes about, oh, she's going to resign, she's quitting, and I was like, posh, he's just being hyperbolic. And then because I don't necessarily pay attention to daily, British politics, and then the next thing you know, bye, she's gone, it's out of here, done.
So who are you betting on this weekend so I can go the other way and win money?
Oh, I did very well last week, by the way. I did extremely well. I had Cincinnati covering over New Orleans, had money line on Seattle, had money line on Atlanta. I did pretty well last weekend.
Yeah. You know what I noticed today, and when this story broke about mid-morning on Thursday, I went over to the BBC channel that we all get, the World Service, whatever it is, because I'm just guessing they might have more of more of an insight into what's going on there.
Yeah.
And I noticed a visual characteristic of the BBC that the cable networks in the United States would be well served to emulate. All right. One of the most irritating things, not necessarily from a content standpoint, but it is, but this is not about the content. When they put the banner up on the bottom of the screen, doesn't matter which of the three main news channels it is, or even some of the wannabes that you can only get on Roku, okay, like Newsmax. When they put the banner at the bottom of the screen, it blocks out that bottom, say, fifth or sixth of the screen. It's whatever color it is, and then there's writing in there. For some reason, on the BBC, at the bottom of the screen, there will be a box, an outline of a long rectangle that is totally transparent. It doesn't block anything. And then there's just the writing, which is just as visible as it is. And it's so elegant. It's so purposeful. It's so unobtrusive as compared to the United States-based cable channels who feel they have to blot shit out. So that very often, right? How many times have you seen someone who's an anchor? Take it down. We got to see the whole picture. They do it all the time.
Take it down.
Take the banner down. We can't see the bottom of the screen, right? Because
tear down this wall.
Right. Sometimes what's on the screen is not complete.
Yeah.
Unless you can see the whole thing. But on the BBC, they never have that problem. It's just not going to happen.
Good news.
It's just one of those things I notice, and I know it means nothing.
And no one else notices it. No one gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit. Nobody
One.
cares.
That's a solid
This is what, Britt, this is why we're here. We care about shit that nobody else does.
And
we don't care about shit that everybody else does.
That's true. Hence the trajectory of our careers. So this woman, good news, though, for Great Britain. Something similar happened in baseball. Joe Girardi fired as manager of the Phillies before June the 1st. And the Phillies are now on the verge of going to the World Series. You can turn it around. You just fired your manager. You can go all the way now.
I haven't read anything for the last few hours. Did I see the name Boris Johnson suddenly, it reminds me of those billboards that go up after the presidency every 4 years. As soon as Obama became president, there were Bush billboards. Miss me yet? Right. And so maybe Boris Johnson had those billboards all over Britain ready to go, but he didn't even have time to put them up because, and I don't know how it works. That I guess they're either going to have a regular election with both parties, the Labour Party and the Conservative, or the Conservatives get to continue on it. And I just don't know parliamentary government there. So something's going to happen. They say they're going to have something by next Friday. We'll see. I don't know, but it's just not. It's not good for stability. None of this shit is good for world stability. I understand that the economy of Britain overall is no larger than that of Metro Atlanta or something like that. It probably isn't, but it doesn't. That's not the point.
I'm looking right now on the DraftKings app, and I don't see anything for Prime Minister. I don't see any bets that you can make on Prime Minister.
You have to look at Ladbroke, the Irish.
They got to put it on. We got to start getting with it over here on FanDuel and DraftKings and
but I don't
Caesars and MGM. We got to start.
I don't think they do. I don't think any of them do.
Well, they need to fucking start. They need to fucking start right now because this would be a great one to put money on.
That's just what we need.
That's what needs to happen right now.
That's just what we need. In fact, did you see that piece yesterday? I can't remember where. Maybe it's a long piece in the New Yorker, so you probably didn't see it. That's way above your pay grade.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Yeah, if it's not fucking Wrestling Monthly, you don't read it. Right?
No, yeah, I just want to see naked guys rolling all over each other in the ring.
No, but the amount of money Americans spend just on lotteries, not gambling, like betting, games and all that. The amount of money spent on lotteries is more money than is spent on movies, television, every bit of entertainment ever, everything ever is dwarfed by the amount of money Americans spend on lotteries. I don't know what that means, except, again, we've got a lot of stupid people.
A lot of stupid people.
Yeah.
I'm taking Rishi Sunak, whoever that is, to be the next prime minister, and also LeBron James under 5 3-pointers tonight. I'm going to parlay them. So we'll just see how that works tonight.
All right. Freedom. We don't need no stinking freedom. What's killing the Dems? Don's video phone scam and the Confederate superhero movie scam and Meltdown Donnie's Hump Day.
Oh, let me do freedom. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, Brad.
Yeah. We alluded to this on the previous Brad and Britt cast, but apparently this is a real thing when you start to dig into what's going on here. Because as you know, we as Americans, we don't have what we call a long attention span. We can get pretty excited over something very, very quickly. It could be the most important thing ever in the history of the world. And the next thing comes along, and whatever it is we were excited about, we allow it to recede into the past. Back in May, all the way back in May of 2022, what is that, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 55% of Americans polled were extremely or very concerned about a Ukrainian defeat. Very important. 55%. What do you think that number is now? Still concerned or very concerned? It was 55 in May. What do you think it is now?
32.
Almost that bad, 38.
Jesus God.
Not much better. But that's down 17 points. 26%, a quarter, say they're not concerned or not concerned in the least about Russia defeating Ukraine. They just don't give a shit. It was only 16% back in May. So more people don't care if Russia wins, and a lot more people don't care if the Ukrainians lose. They kind of would go together, you would think, and that makes sense. 34% are somewhat concerned compared to 28% who said so in May. This is Pew Research, 1,588 adults. So you can't even say, oh, it's too small of a sample. It's an incompetent poll. This is the real deal. And they conducted that survey before Putin started grabbing people off the streets and started the latest complete obliteration bombing campaign of schools and homes and movie theaters and hospitals and physical infrastructure, knocking out the electrical grid. So this was before that. I'm not sure whether that would change right now, but we'll work with what we had. But this is my point here. The Republican Party, which for the most part, and I guess we have to separate Republican politicians and Republican people. For the most part, they were sort of together at the beginning of the war and allowed President Biden and voted to spend the money to support Ukraine in its fight for freedom against the illegal invasion by Russia. It didn't seem like much of a discussion. It was a no-brainer because this was the vanguard of free. This is where it is. These are Ukrainians fighting the fight that Americans apparently don't want to fight.
Apparently,
right?
I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but apparently it is a brainer.
Yeah, and we're spending money along with the Europeans, but I'm sure we're spending more than they are. This is how it always works. But you can just see what the Russian strategy is right now. They're headed into winter there, and if they can get enough Ukrainians to be freezing their asses off and have no water to drink and no food to eat, Putin's strategy is that the Ukrainians are going to just give up. They're going to pressure Zelensky to just give in. And of course, that's probably the dumbest strategy in the history of strategies. What is it going to take, Putin, for you to learn that the more you do this shit, the more they dig in, the more it becomes impossible for anyone to ever sit down and negotiate anything with you, Putin? Zelensky has said so. He said he's ready to negotiate with the Russian president that follows you, the next one. And it's not going to break them. You are not going to break the Ukrainian people. They're that good. They're that committed. They're that pissed at Russia and Putin. So I think he's making a wrong bet here. I think he's making a wrong bet. Yet, however, with that said, we have a Republican Party now that is looking at polling like this and saying, you know what? There's an opening here. There's an opening for us to demagogue this. Pretty surprising, isn't it, Britt?
Mm-hmm.
That all we have to do is say, why are we spending money over there when we should be spending it over here? Which, of course, goes against the idea that we should be spending anything here, because Republicans don't want to spend anything here, except that they do, and that they spend just as much or more than Democrats when they're in office or in control. But we'll put that aside for a second, because this is demagoguery. This is lying. This is opportunistic bullshit. This is what Republicans specialize in.
Oh, it's always a fraudulent argument. Well, we need to help veterans here. Until we help the veterans here, why are we spending money on missiles over blah 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 blah? Until we fix the bridges and road. It's always a false dichotomy, a false argument they give every time.
Right now, and I'm old enough to remember. You always know something's good when somebody says that.
This will be good.
I'm old enough to remember when the old Soviet Union marched in and took control of a whole bunch of countries in Eastern Europe after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are now free as a bird, friendly with NATO, members of NATO, on our side. But those ones that are right on the border with Russia, right there, is a little bit more problematic. There's a little bit more of an ethnic crossover effect, and Putin has made this bet that Ukraine can be bullied and steamrolled into giving up and giving in to the idea that Ukraine is not a real country anyway, that they're just imagining it, and that they're really all just Russians in disguise.
How's that working? How's that strategy paying off right now?
He's not really a good salesman on this one.
Not
when your sale has to come at the barrel of a gun.
How is Vladimir Putin at capturing hearts and minds?
Yeah, perfect. That's the perfect question. You know, Britt, I'm gonna have to think about that one.
If I may go back to my Iraq era bullshit, how are the hearts and minds coming along?
Yeah. And we did allude to this, but it's worth bringing back up again here. Kevin McCarthy, here's the quote.
Yeah.
And he thinks the time is on his side. I think people are going to be sitting in a recession and they're not going to want to write a blank check to Ukraine. They just won't do it. So that's the Kevin McCarthy bet, that we're going to give up on supporting the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian people in their fight to fend off.
That's a bullshit straw man. That's a bullshit straw man. I can't let that go by. Nobody has said unlimited funds, whatever it takes. No one has said that.
Britt, does that matter that you are so factually correct? Because we're dealing in political bullshit speech, and political bullshit speech is about poking you and getting an emotional reaction out of you. And those people that get interviewed in diners, if they are posed the question, we have $20 billion. What should we do with that $20 billion? Should it go to buy weaponry and support for the Ukrainian people to help build their infrastructure back from scratch, which has been obliterated in much of the country? Or should we spend it here on more police to keep our streets safe and keep crime away from your neighborhood? That's how that's what they're going to do, Britt. That's what they are doing.
Yeah. Because it is a zero-sum game.
Yes.
Again, this is what we've always.
Right.
No, you're right. That's exactly how they would pose it.
Right. But as long as gas is $3.50, $4, $5 a gallon, we cannot think about supporting the Ukrainian cause.
Okay.
It's just too much. I can't do it.
I'll take your bet you're going to regret. What is the price of gas got to be before we can consider supporting the Ukrainians? Would it be $3.49, $3.36, $3.23, $2.97? I mean, again, it's a stupid. That's a stupid argument.
This is where you're so ignorant. You know, it's $1.96.
It's $1.96. We will open discussions on helping the Ukrainian. The inside baseball is that apparently, the Biden administration, they think that McCarthy could fold on Ukrainian aid, and apparently the ace in the hole is Mitch McConnell. That's right. Mitch McConnell, less of an asshole on this issue anyway than Kevin McCarthy. That's what they think will happen. But again,
that's because that's just the way it is.
And the game of chicken benefits who? Vladimir Putin. He loves it. Again, the Republican Party doing a bang-up job of carrying water for Vladimir Putin right now.
Yeah, that's what it is. And when you've got the complete far-right wacko caucus of the Republicans, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, just ready to sell out Ukraine, at the drop of a swastika. You see what I did there?
Drop of a swastika. It's cute.
It's a not very pleasant idea. But by the way, the minute that support were to dry up enough to allow what would ever be considered to be a Russian victory, which I guess would be either complete control of Ukraine 100% because they don't have the means to fight anymore. Joe Biden will get blamed by the Republicans who cut off the support for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be his fault if this happens. And this is not going to be a 15-year war. It's not going to be that long. So
I just wonder, like back in when the Soviet Union was rocking through Europe after the war, like you were talking about, if somebody went up and they said to Truman, "How dare this guy do a Berlin airlift when we have people starving here at home?" I'm sure that happened. I'm sure you can find that somewhere.
I'm sure
in history,
it was.
Right?
I'm sure it was.
There was some Republican dickhead who was against Harry Truman and said, "Why are we giving gum to children in Germany when children are starving here?"
Right. And I want to make sure that we realize that this is not the beginning of the Vietnam War for us again. Okay. This is not, say, an extension that occurred through the 1960s following the death of John F. Kennedy and then the escalation under Lyndon Johnson in Vietnam. This is not an escalation of John F. Kennedy's famous will pay any price, bear any burden to fight communism kind of thing. This is not that at all. This is not that at all. This is a whole different thing. And it is amazing to see the tables turned here and to see the Democratic Party being one essentially ready to defend freedom wherever it's under threat, and the Republican Party ready to go full isolationist again. What did that happen in the 1930s?
Yeah. What was the result of that?
Right. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt, not a perfect man, had to do, how should we say it, a lot of spade work to get the country to the point where we were war ready and war prepared by 1941, as we saw what was happening in Europe, or as Winston Churchill said, the gathering storm. If this isn't a gathering storm in Europe right now, and by the way, congratulations, Putin, you got what you wanted, at least at this level. You got a full-blown recession for the entire continent of Europe right now. I mean, they're in a world of hurt, and they are facing a cold winter, because of the energy situation, which you've purposely perpetuated under the idea of restoring the old Soviet Union to its former glory, which wasn't that glorious to begin with, but I guess that's the Russian school kids were being taught when they were Soviet Union school kids back in 1966, when Vladimir Putin was in school. But this is not where you throw in the towel. This is where you double down. This is where, and there are other countries involved in this. I know that the Israelis have the technology to handle these drones, because they're used to handling drones that would come from the Gaza Strip and other places. So they know how to shoot these suckers down,
right,
better than anybody in the world. I would like to see them get on board and help the Ukrainians. Also, I heard Ambassador William Taylor. You remember which guy he is? He's the guy that talks like this, who you see all the time. That was his take. All right, here we go.
Israeli drones, by the way, the name of the next Kanye album.
Yeah, how about that? Is that wild? All right, how about Meltdown Donnie's Hump Day?
Yeah, let's do that one.
Oh boy, what a great couple of days for him. First of all, he's lost his shit over the case involving the Steele dossier and the prosecutor, John Durham, getting his ass handed to him for the second time in the last few months, when a jury acquitted this guy named Igor Danchenko, who was the primary source for the Trump-Russia dossier. An embarrassing defeat for William Barr appointed via Trump prosecutor John Durham, who Merrick Garland kept his hands off of and said, "You continue. You keep doing that investigating. You go ahead. You handle this."
This is what your crazy uncle Willie would tell you at the family reunion. You just wait till this Durham thing blows up. You're going to be sorry.
Yep. So
and it's turned into the new Benghazi.
Right. Well, at least in Benghazi, as ridiculous as the attempt to pin this all on Hillary Clinton and destroy her candidacy, that didn't work, did it?
I don't really know. Not at all.
No, she was president after all.
Yeah, a couple terms.
At least something actually did happen that they were talking about. In this case, this was a true nothing sandwich all the way. Here's Trump's comments. The disgraceful judicial system was on full display yet again with the Danchenko verdict. Durham could not get a fair shake in the swamp. Of course, the word swamp has to be capitalized, of biased and partisan juries where you are told that no Republican-based or supported case can be won, no matter how good it is. And judges that are so biased, unfair, and angry that it's literally dangerous to be in court. I was told by many. Okay, there's a right there. Pull that phrase out.
Yeah.
Is that classic Trump?
Well,
I was told by many. Tell me what that means, Britt. What does that really mean?
That's the Fox News some people say. That's the classic. It's just you pulled it out of your ass. Nobody said it. Nobody said anything about it.
Some people say.
Yeah.
Many told me that Durham's case was a great one, but he has zero chance of winning in, quote, that court. Sorry, Justice Roberts, but so true. Sorry about that, Donnie. But there's more. There is more fun here for Trump. And this is a new one. I had not heard of this one. There was going to be, allegedly, funded and produced a Confederacy promoting right-wing superhero movie. Get your arms around that phrase for a minute. A Confederacy promoting right-wing superhero movie, and it's never going to happen. It has ended in disaster. $1 million in funders' money has gone missing. It was going to be called Rebels Run. It was based on a comic book character created by a blogger, a right-wing blogger named Vox Day, Voxday, that featured a hero named Rebel. This must be a woman named Rebel, who is sometimes depicted in a Confederate flag bustier, like Wonder Woman, right? Something like that, and who fights against, listen closely, a global police force hunting down free-thinking conservatives. The film's troubles started when this blogger guy named Vox Day, whose actual name is Theodore Beale, decided to use a company in Utah called Ohana Capital Financial to hold the $1 million that he had raised in donations for the movie in escrow. This sounds like the Steve Bannon raised money to build the wall bullshit, doesn't it? It's never going to happen.
Very much so. Very much so.
The blogger Beale went with the Ohana Company because it was a rare financial institution that would do business with him, given his long history of unabashed racism and sexism. Apparently, though, the Ohana outfit appears to have been a sham institution set up by a con artist. So a con artist tricked a bullshit artist out of $1 million to make a movie about a Confederate female superhero.
There's a picture. I'll
stop right there.
I've got the picture of her on the screen. The skin tone is interesting. I don't know if that was a conscious choice or if somebody kind of messed up on the palette, but then, yeah, that's if you're watching, that's what she looks like with her sidekick or something.
I had so much hope for this one.
I know, right? It's so weird that you could watch it as a double feature with Black Adam. It'd be great to watch those back to back, wouldn't
it? That was going to be the one. That was going to be it. That was
when she puts the rope around you, unlike Wonder Woman, you have to admit that the Civil War was started because of slavery. That's what happens when she puts the magic golden lasso around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew that one wasn't going to work? I'm surprised she didn't get the funding from Deutsche Bank. I thought the Deutsche Bank people would step in. They're always good for this shit, aren't they?
Yep. All right, so here's Don's other heartache from yesterday.
Yeah.
Lawyers for investors who claim that they were defrauded by Donald Trump more than a decade ago finally got a chance to depose him about his marketing of a failed video phone venture called, what the fuck was it called? It didn't even have a name. It was something that he was pitching on Celebrity Apprentice.
Oh, good.
the deposition, this is not the one that he did this week for E. Jean Carroll. This was earlier this month. Nobody had been reporting on this one.
Right.
But now it's out there. A New York judge had ordered that Trump sit for questions in the video phone case by the end of October. The planned testimony date was derailed by Hurricane Ian. And the exact day of the deposition wasn't made public, but apparently he's already done this one. Here's the story. Trump, his company, and his three oldest children, Mo, Larry, and Curly.
That's not right. How dare you?
Yeah. They were sued in 2018 by four investors who claim they were duped by Trump's promotions into paying thousands of dollars to become independent sellers with something called the ACN Opportunity LLC, which sold a doomed video phone device that Trump touted as the next big thing. What has he not touted as the next big thing? Can you recall anything that wasn't the next big thing?
No, the steaks, the water, the university, the vodka, the wine, everything.
So remember, this is 2008. The first iPhone was, I think, in 2007. Is that right? I think that's right, because they just did the 15th anniversary.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So Trump is pitching this bullshit, gigantic video phone monster just after the iPhone makes smartphones what we know them to be today. And of course, this product was obsolete before it ever got out the door. So the pitch was that the fans could make easy money selling the video phones without any of the risks, this is a quote, that most entrepreneurs have to take. That's right, Britt. You can make lots of money risk-free with Donald Trump.
Sure.
What do you have to lose? According to the suit, the Trumps lied about their faith in its products and also failed to disclose that they were being paid to promote the company. Trump himself also starred in promotional videos. Oh, we got to see these. We got to see these.
Got to be awake somewhere. It's got to be on YouTube or somewhere.
In-person events for the company, because we've remember that video that he cut that we've seen over the years. Which one was that for? Was that for Trump University? The Trump University videos. Okay. Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's got to be something equivalent to that for this thing that he's getting nailed for. It's hard to tell how good of a case that they have, because I'm sure his defense will be, well, first of all, I didn't make the product, and two, I didn't know that it was, it'll be the usual bullshit.
Because you got to be careful about saying things that you don't know and when you didn't know them, because that turned into a little bit of a problem for him yesterday, as a federal judge hinted that a signed statement from Trump actually contained information that he knew to be false, Brad.
And Britt, I saw this story and started reading about it, and clearly this is very problematic.
Problematic.
Very problematic. One of my favorite words.
And none of us, neither you nor I went to law school. I didn't take the LSAT. Did you ever take the LSAT?
I did. Actually, I did.
You did well on it?
I did very mediocre on it.
Mediocre.
Well, I did so mediocre that if I wanted to go to law school, it would have had to have been at a second or third tier law school. And I decided that broadcasting was a much higher calling than
law school. So it worked out. So I think that when you give false statements under oath, I think that's known as perjury. Am I right about that, or is that incorrect?
Yeah. Now, you can read, and you've probably heard about this story, that the judge out in California basically is just calling bullshit on Trump. This just adds to the weight of the evidence that everything he was saying, not only was false, but he knew it was false. It was absolutely 100% positive bullshit that he was putting out there when he knew the truth. But the Daily Mail, the largest news site in the world, shockingly, the most viewed, put it this way, and you'll know what I'm doing when I read this here.
There's the visual for you right on the screen as you're reading it.
Clinton-appointed California federal judge declares Trump lied in an election lawsuit. All right, let's stop there. Now, you and I often point out in particular situations who appointed a federal judge when they make a decision like this, because sometimes it seems to match up politically with that president. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. But I've never, ever seen at the beginning of the reportage of a case like this that they lead with Clinton appointed California federal judge, because obviously that's designed to immediately cast doubt on the efficacy, the decency, the legitimacy of the decision, because Bill Clinton appointed the judge. All right, continuing. Claims he was warned by attorney that specific voter fraud numbers were wrong, but ex-president still attested to those numbers in sworn statement anyway. Of course, the two words Clinton appointed should never be in the headline unless you have something to prove, unless you know something. And I want you to think about this for a second here. This judge, who's clearly in his 70s now, he was appointed by Bill Clinton. How many presidents ago is that back? Is that 4 or 5 back? All right. So the implication is that when Bill Clinton appointed a federal judge back then, he knew that 30 years later, this judge would be in a position to fuck over and ignore the law and make it up as he goes along in order to punish unfairly, unconstitutionally Donald Trump. That's the implication of putting that phrase there, Clinton appointed judge. It is disgusting. And they put a fucking picture of the guy up there. So, by the way, if you see him in your neighborhood or you see him in a restaurant, you can kill him for ruling against Donald Trump.
You can kill him. In fact, you have a duty. You have a duty.
They have been killed before.
Not only do you have permission, you have a duty.
Yeah. And this is the poisoning of the system, of the judiciary, of our democracy by Donald Trump. Because the assumption is that everyone is as corrupt as he is. Everyone. And every judicial decision, every judge that's ever been appointed by anybody who is a politician, that's what they do, cannot follow the law faithfully, even remotely. And when it comes to Donald Trump, definitely unfairly. I guess 60 in a row judges ruled unfairly against Trump a couple years ago, right after the election, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't matter who appointed those judges. And this brings us back. Britt, you're old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember when Trump appointed that Aileen Cannon down in Florida, and he found her to rule in his favor corruptly, incorrectly, illegally, I would say, in cases where we ended up with a special master that should have never been approved. So here's the Daily Mail carrying not just water for Trump, they're carrying an ocean for Trump by making some illusion that the president who appointed this judge, Judge Carter, some 30 plus years ago, that has anything to do with the legitimacy of this decision. In other words, a Trump-appointed judge would never have found that Donald Trump was full of shit and knew exactly what he was saying when he was lying to the country. That's the implication here. And that's what Republicans, that's what Donald Trump wants. That's what Trumpism is. It's poisoning everything. And this is it. That's my thesis. What do you think?
No, I think I can't really impeach anything in that argument at all. I mean, you're 100% right about that. I knew the Daily Mail. I knew the Daily Mail was full of shit. I didn't know they were that full of shit.
And sometimes they're not. See, they're like, even this is like the Fox News where the clock is correct, twice a day. Yeah. Every once in a while, they'll do something correct, but they do that for plausible deniability. Then they go back to what they really are. And this is what the Daily Mail really is, because sometimes they do things right, but seldom. But they're very often in the tank for Trump and Trumpism. seen it over and over again. But I've never seen a headline ever, not just there, but anywhere, where they start off with who appointed the judge made this decision. Now, maybe weeks from now, after we've picked it apart, right, then you put that in the headline because there's some proof that because Bill Clinton appointed this judge that they just can't adjudicate the law faithfully. But this just burned my ass. This burned my ass when I saw it right after this decision, because to me, I guess this is the walls are closing in, part 8,000.
Right.
If this is all you've got to lean on, that this is a Bill Clinton appointment. So you have Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump. So he's really 5 presidents back. He's 5 presidents back. That Bill Clinton, he really knew what he was doing back then, didn't he? He knew.
Let me finish up with this one. Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, was actually in Georgia campaigning for Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker. I think I've got a picture here. I think I can get, now let me steal somebody else's line on this one and go ahead as we head out. It's the guy who doesn't know how many children he has being campaigned for by the guy who has no children in Georgia. That's what's happening right now.
Well, maybe it should be the guy who doesn't know how many children that he has being campaigned for by the guy who absolutely knows he has no children. Who's 100% sure he has no children.
There it is. Yeah, right there. Yeah, there's the two of them right there. That's your dream team there in Georgia.
Yeah, there you go. Herschel Walker. All right. Well, we're less than 3 weeks away from this mess.
Early voting is open here. It may be open where you are, so go out and do that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I might do that today.
Not a bad idea at all. I bet you'll stroll right in and stroll right out.
I might do that today, and I'll if I do, or if you vote over, let's see if there's any attempt to intimidate or stare or
anything.
And I'll be voting at a different place than normal because the Republicans no, that didn't happen. I've been voting at an elementary school for 20 years.
And now you have to stay 1,000 feet away from those. So that's
I have to stay 1,000 feet away. That's right. They put me in a porta potty and let me vote. No, the school is closed because the taxpayers have borrowed billions of dollars to fix up the schools where we live. And the school is closed while they fix it up.
There you go.
So
we will see you on Monday.
See you.